Hi, good morning everyone. Dear students, this video is in continuation with the module 4. So, the next part of syllabus what we are going to cover is model overfitting and nearest neighbor classifier. So, in this topic we are going to study model overfitting and the nearest neighbor classifiers. Okay, so what is model overfitting and why it is required? So, the errors committed by a classification model are generally divided into two types. One is called as training errors and one more is generalization errors. Okay, so, because of these two errors we need to go for model overfitting. So, because of training errors and generalization errors we need to go for two types of we need to go for model overfitting. So, now let us see what is a training error. Training error is the number of misclassification error committed of the training records. What it is? Training error is the number of misclassification errors. So, whenever you give training set as an input to the classification model and if that classification model during training phase misclassifies a particular data or a particular set, then that is called as misclassification error. Then what is a generalization error? Generalization error is the expected error of a model on the test record. So, generalization error will occur. So, whenever you train a train set training records and you keep that training record into the database and whenever you give a test image which is unknown image is given as an input to the classification model, if that classification model is unable to determine or unable to classify the test image, that is called as generalization error. So, a good model, a good classification model should be able to have very less number of training errors and very low number of generalization errors. So, now coming to the underfitting. So, what is underfitting? The training and test error rates of the model are large when the size of the tree is very small. So, training and test error rates. So, training errors, that is the training errors and generalizations errors. Why these generalization and training errors will occur? So, training and generalization or test error will be more or they will be large when the size of the tree is very small, means when you are not properly classified or whenever you have not properly perform test condition at various child nodes. So, this will lead into a problem called as model underfitting. Underfitting occur because the model has yet to learn the tree structure of the data, means the tree is not properly designed or the test conditions are not properly put in, because of which the test errors and the training errors are more. As a result, it performs poorly on both the training as well as the test. So, when the training model is or the classification model has not properly studied or not properly understood the various test conditions of the tree structure, because of which the tree will perform or the classification model will perform very poorly on the training and the test sets. Overfitting. Now, we saw the underfitting. So, underfitting will be because of the poor learning of the tree structure and because of that it will perform very poorly on the training and test set. Then overfitting, as the number of nodes in the decision tree increases, the tree will have few training and test errors. So, in underfitting what happens, because of the small tree structures there will be more training and testing errors. So, as you increase the size of the tree, as you increase the number of nodes in the decision tree, then the training then the tree will be able to produce very less number of training errors and the test errors. However, once the tree becomes large, its test error rate begins to increase even though its training error rate continues to decrease. So, now here the question is the tree should not be too much large or it should not be too much small. The tree structure should be intermediate, it should not be very small where less number of test conditions are applied, or it should not be very large where more number of test conditions are applied. So, if the tree size becomes very large, what happens, training errors will reduce or they will continue to decrease, but the test errors will continue to increase. Okay. So, why this happens? Why this happens? Because of the presence of noise and because of the lack of representative samples. This figure shows the training and test error rate of a decision tree. Okay. So, this red line increases the training set and this increases the test set. So, now what happens, the error rate decreases, when the number of nodes go on increasing, means as the structure of the tree goes on increasing in size, the number of errors goes on reducing. Similarly, for the testing, as the number of nodes also increases in the decision tree, the test errors also increase. So, the only way to overcome the problem of reducing the problem of training errors and testing errors is to increase the number of nodes in a tree, or the tree has to become large, but the tree should not become very large. So, if the tree structure is very large, for example, if it is having 250 nodes, you can see the training error, testing error is reduced, but training error increases to remain as it is. So, here your number of nodes in a decision tree should not be more and should not be less, it should be of an appropriate size. So, now coming to the next point, estimating generalization errors. So, generalization errors, the error on testing is equal to summation E of t. So, E of t is the error, E summation is summation of all the errors, E represents the errors, t represents on a training set, on testing set. Okay. So, methods for estimating generalization errors for each leaf node. So, for each leaf node, testing error, generalization error is equal to E of t plus 0.5, okay, and for total errors E of t is equal to E of t plus n into 0.5. So, where n is the number of leaf nodes. For example, let us see, you have for a tree with 30 leaves and 10 errors on training out of 1000 instances. So, now you have a tree structure given with you. So, this tree structure is having 30 leaf nodes and there are 10 errors on the training. So, now out of 1000, so when you test for 1000 input sets are given. So, out of that there are only 10 errors on the training. So, training error is equal to 10 divided by 1000 is equal to 1%. So, generalization error, it will be 10 plus 30 into 0.5 divided by 1000, that will be 2.5%. So, now another approach is optimistic approach, E of t is equal to E of t, and one more is pessimistic approach. So, again these are the two methods using which pessimistic and optimistic approach you can generalize, you can calculate what is the amount of training and testing errors. So, reduced error pruning. So, here another method. So, uses validation data to estimate generalization error. So, reduced error pruning. So, now in order to reduce the number of errors, or you need to, pruning is nothing but cutting out errors from the data. So, this uses validation data to estimate generalization errors. Next, coming to the point of how to address overfitting. So, pre-pruning or early stopping rule. So, pre-pruning, so before you cut down the points or the part of the nodes, early stopping. So, stop the algorithm before it becomes fully grown tree. So, your tree structure should not become very large. So, you need to stop the algorithm before it becomes a fully grown tree. Typical stopping conditions for a node. So, when you can stop a particular node, stop if all the instances belong to the same class, means all the objects are of the same class are there in the set, then stop splitting the node, and stop if all the attribute values are also same. So, if all the attributes or values of all the training sets are the same values, then also you need to stop growing the tree. So, more restrictive condition. So, another is stop if the number of instances is less than some user defined threshold. So, you need to stop the generation of the growing the tree if the number of instances is less than some user defined threshold. So, number of instances means as how many number of times you need to test the conditions on the data. So, it should not be less. Stop if the class distribution of instances are independent of available features. Okay. So, if the class distribution are also independent means class distribution independent means class 1 is not dependent on class 2 and class 2 is not dependent on class 3. So, if this condition also, then in that condition also you need to stop developing the tree. Stop if expanding the current node does not improve impurity measures, that is Gini or the information gain. So, if you are going improving, you are splitting the nodes again and again, but splitting of the nodes is not improving any impurity, means it is not able to eliminate the objects which does not belong to class. So, in that case also you should stop splitting or expanding the tree when it is not improving the impurity measure. So, these are all the steps, that is pre pruning what you have to do. Then after pruning, pruning is nothing but cutting down the errors. So, post pruning, grow decision tree to its entirety. So, once you eliminated, so once you allow all the conditions, stop if it is less than threshold value, stop if all the attributes are of same class, stop if all the objects are belong to the same class, then after that grow the decision tree to its entirety, means to grow the tree completely with all the decision conditions which are to be considered. Trim the nodes of the decision tree in a bottom up fashion. Okay, so, if you want to eliminate any nodes which are of less important, so you need to eliminate it from the bottom, not from the top fashion. If generalization errors improve after trimming, replace subtree by a leaf node. So, if the generalization errors improve after trimming, trimming is nothing but cutting down of the internal nodes or cutting down of the leaf nodes. So, when a leaf node is cut, when a subtree is cut, if a subtree is completely has to be removed, then that subtree has to be replaced by a leaf node. Class label of a leaf node is determined by the majority of the class of instances in the subtree. So, class label of a leaf node. So, what will be the class of a leaf node? So, that will be depend on the majority class of the instances in a subtree. In a subtree, which is the majority class? If majority number of classes in a subtree is 1, then the leaf node will have a class 1. If the majority classes in subtree is 2, then leaf node will also have a class 2. Next, coming to the another topic called as rule based classifier example. So, here a huge amount of data is given to us. So, we have human, python, salmon, whale, frog, komodo, bat, pigeon, cat, leopard and turtle and so on. These are all the different animals. Okay, now, coming to the blood type, humans are having warm blood, python cold, salmon cold blood, warm blood, cold blood and so on. Then gives birth, some of these will give birth and some of these will not give the birth. So, that is S no, S no. So, some of the birds can fly and some of the birds and animals cannot be fly. Some of these animals can live in water and sometimes they cannot live in the water, and sometimes they can live in water and some can live on the land also. So, now class to which class belongs, for example, human belongs to mammals, python belong to reptiles, salmon belong to fishes, frog belongs to amphibians, because sometimes it lives on water also as well as in outside the water also. Okay. So, now amphibians, salamander is also an amphibian, because sometimes it can survive both on water and also on the land. Okay. So, now the owl is a bird, it can fly, okay, but it cannot live in water. Okay. So, then eagle also can fly. So, this is a bird. So, now from this table I need to generate certain rules. So, what rule I can generate from this table? Okay, rule generation. Rule number 1, gives birth is equal to no and can fly is equal to S, then that is a birth. That is a birth. So, gives birth equal to no or can fly equal to S, then that is a bird. Rule number 2, gives birth equal to no, lives in water S, then it is a fish. Gives birth equal to no or lives in water, condition is satisfied is S, then fishes. Birds can fly. So, birds can fly S. So, then these are the birds. Anything that lives in the water, then that is a fish. Gives birth equal to S and blood type is equal to warm. Rule number 3, gives birth equal to S and blood type is equal to warm, then it belongs to the class mammals. Gives birth equal to no or can fly equal to no, then there are reptiles. Lives in water equal to sometimes, then those are amphibians. So, these are the 5 rules: rule 1, rule 2, rule 3, rule 4 and rule 5. These all rule 5 are based on this table, whatever we have taken into consideration. So, now take one example, hawk. Its blood type is warm, it gives birth no, can fly S, lives in water no. Now, to which class this belongs? Hawk is a warm blood, gives birth equal to no, can fly equal to S. So, gives birth equal to no and can fly equal to S, then it belongs to birds class. So, hawk satisfies the rule number 3. So, rule hawk belongs to the class bird. Then next is glisser bear is a warm blooded, gives birth, can fly no, lives in water no, then to which class it belongs. So, it executes rule number 3, gives birth equal to S and blood type is equal to warm, then it belongs to the class mammals. It belongs to the class mammals. Similarly, you take lemur, warm blood type, gives birth equal to S, can fly no, lives in water no, to which class belongs. So, lemur triggers rule number 3. So, it is classified as mammal. Turtle, cold blood, gives birth no, can fly no, lives in water sometimes, then turtle satisfies 2 rules. So, it satisfies 2 rules, gives birth equal to no, can fly equal to no, it is a reptile, and it also triggers lives in water equal to sometimes amphibians. So, turtle is both amphibian as well as a reptile. Next is dogfish shark, it is a cold blood type, it gives birth equal to S, can fly equal to no and lives in water. Dogfish shark triggers none of the rules. There is no rule which can classify to which, according to this 5 rules, we does not have any rule that can satisfy the conditions of the dogfish. So, here we will not assign any class to the dogfish shark. Coming to the how much accurate. So, we have rules we have designed. So, here based on this table we have designed some 5 rules and we are applying these rules to this type of data, and we are able to classify whether a particular thing is a bird or a mammal or an amphibian or a reptile. Okay, coming to the rule coverage and accuracy. So, what is a coverage of a rule? Fraction of a record that satisfies the incident of a rule, okay, that satisfies the incident of a rule. Coverage, then accuracy of a rule, fraction of record that satisfies the both incident and consequent of a rule. So, coverage R is equal to A divided by D and accuracy is equal to A intersection Y divided by A. So, here what is A? So, coverage rule, fraction of satisfy that satisfy antecedents, whereas accuracy, fraction of record that satisfy both antecedents as well as consequent of a rule. Okay. So, now what is A over here? A is the total number of records. A is the total number of record that satisfy the rule antecedent, and A intersection Y is the number of record that satisfy both antecedent and consequent, and D is the total number of records. D is the total number of records. So, let us take one more example here. You have transaction ID. So, again the same example we are taking, a particular person's loan transaction. defaulted value is S, defaulted value is no, and undefaulted value is S. Marital status is single, married and divorced, and taxable income class S, no and S. Status single is equal to no. Status single is equal to no, then okay. So, coverage, what is the coverage of this using this formula? Using this formula apply. So, what is A? Total number of record that satisfy the antecedent rule. So, that is 40%, 4 divided by 10, that will become 40%. Accuracy, what is accuracy? Number of record that satisfy both antecedent and descent. So, number of record that satisfy both over here is 5 divided by the total number of record divided by A, the number of records. So, that is around 50%. So, mutually coming to the another topics of different types of the rules. So, mutually exclusive rules, the rules in a rule set R are mutually exclusive if two rules in R are triggered by the same record. So, if one record is triggering two rules at a time, then that rule R is called as mutually exclusive rules. The rules in a rule set R are mutually exclusive if two rules in R are triggered by the same record. You have a set of rules available. So, if one record is triggering two rules from a rule set, okay, then that rule R is called as mutually exclusive rule. So, this property ensures that every record is covered by at most one rule in R. So, this property ensures that mutually exclusive rules, that every record is covered, every record is able to trigger at least one rule in R. Exhaustive rule, a rule set R has exhaustive coverage if there is a rule for each combination of attribute values. For every combination of attribute values of a data set, if you have a rule defined, then that type of rule is called as an exhaustive rule. So, this property ensures that every record is covered by at least one rule in the rule set R, means every attribute of an object, every attribute of a data is triggering minimum at least one rule in the rule set R. Then ordered rules, in this approach the rules in the rule set are ordered in decreasing order of their priority. Now, ordered rules, already you know ordering. So, one ordering, ascending order and descending order. So, here the rules are ordered according to their priority, which can be defined in many ways, that is example based on the accuracy, coverage, total description length, or the order in which the rules are generated. So, how we give a priority or particular rule? So, any rule cannot be given a highest priority, any rule cannot be given a lowest priority. So, which rule can be given the highest priority and which rule can be given with the lowest priority? So, priority can be given to a particular rule based on how much accurate it is, based on how much coverage it is able to cover, what is the total description length of the rule, or the order in which the rules are generated. Okay. So, an ordered rule set is also called as decision list, because these rules are deciding to which class a particular data belongs. So, whenever you present a testing record to the ordered rules or the classification model, it is classified by the highest ranked rule that covers the record. So, then whenever a test is present is as a given input to for classification, then first we are going to apply the highest priority rule. So, once we apply the highest priority rule, and it will revoke a particular record. If it is not able to trigger, then we will go to the next priority rule and try to apply. So, this avoids the problem of having conflicting classes predicted by the multiplication classification rule. So, means we are applying one rule to one data set, and if that fails, then only we are going to apply for the second. So, if at a time we are not applying all the rules, what is the advantage of doing so? So, advantage of doing so is that it avoids the problem of having conflicts among the classes predicted by the multiplication multiple classification rules. Reordering schemes. So, rule based reordering. So, this approach orders the individual rules by some rule quality measure. So, now we have in the previous example of different animals, their attributes like warm or cold, gives birth or no, can fly or no, can live in water or no, we have generated some 5 rules. So, let us take some 5 rules over here. So, in ordering is required or not. Ordering is means in which order which rule should be first and which rule should be second and which rule should be third, fourth and fifth. So, a proper ordering has to apply. So, this approach, so rule based ordering what it will do, this approach will order the individual rule by some rule quality measure. So, this ordering scheme ensures that every test record is classified by the best rule covering it. So, here the ordering, why we are going to order a particular rule is only because we want every test record to be classified by the best rule which can be applied to it. So, individual rules are ranked based on their quality. Okay. So, now class based ordering, rules that belong to the same class appear together. So, sometimes most of the rules, some of the rules will trigger the same class. Okay. So, that we call as class based ordering. In this approach, rules that belong to the same class appear together in the rule set R. The rules are then collectively sorted on the basis of their class information. When two rules are triggering the same class, or whenever you give a training set to the classification, if two rules are triggering the same class, then this problem has to be resolved. So, this can be resolved by collectively sorting these rules based on the basis of their class information. So, this is rule based ordering and class based ordering. So, here refund is equal to S and no, refund equal to no, Marshall status equal to no, single or diverse taxable income, Marshall status single. So, refund equal to S means a person is not repaying back the rule, okay, and its default is no. Refund equal to no, marital status equal to single or diverse, taxable income less than 80k, then no. Refund equal to no, marital status single, diverse, taxable income is greater than 80k, S is not paying the loan back. Refund equal to no, marital status married, then no. So, he is paying back the rules. Now, in class based ordering, what is this is rule we are applying. Now, this is classification. This is based on the rule that we apply. So, we in first condition we are testing only one condition, in second case we are testing second condition, in third case what we are taking, only one condition is changed. Here the income is less than 80k and here the income is more than 80k. Okay. So, now in class based reordering, so we have reordered. So, rule number 4 in rule based ordering will become rule number 3 in class based ordering, and rule number 3 will become the rule number 4 in class based ordering. So, this is how we can reorder the rule either based on the rules or based on the class. So, one of the evaluation matrix that we can use, an evaluation matrix that takes into account the rule coverage can be used. So, consider the evaluation matrix. So, we are taking two evaluation matrix, one is called as Laplace and one more is M estimate. Laplace is equal to f of plus by plus 1, f of plus 1 divided by n plus k, and M estimate is equal to f of plus k of p plus divided by n plus k. So, here what are the different parameters involved in here? So, this is an evaluation matrix, and using this we are going to we are able to find it out whether the rule based classifier has properly classified a particular class or no. So, where n is the number of examples covered in the rules. So, n is the number of examples. So, number of data sets that are taken, f plus is the number of positive examples covered by the rule. Okay. So, n is the number of examples covered by the rule. So, how many number of classes are classified by a particular rule that represents n, and f plus is the number of positive examples covered in the rule, positive examples that are giving a positive value. K is the total number of classes, p plus is the prior probability of a plus positive class. Okay. Note that M estimate is equivalent to Laplace measure by choosing f plus is equal to 1 by k. So, if we take p plus is equal to 1 by k, then Laplace measure will become equivalent to the M estimate. Depending upon the rule coverage, these measures capture the trade off. So, next coming to the Foyle's information gain. So, Foyle's information gain is again an evaluation matrix that takes into account the support count of the rule can be used. So, it will take so evaluation matrix that takes into account the support count of the rule can be used here. One such matrix is the Foyle's information gain. Okay. The support count of a rule corresponding to a number of positive examples covered by a rule. Okay, the support count, what is the support count? Support count of a rule corresponds to the number of positive examples covered by the rule. Suppose the rule R, A is equal to P, A belongs to plus covers P positive examples and n of 0 negative examples. After adding a new conjunct B, the extended rule R is equal to A or B is equal to plus covers P1 positive examples and N1 negative examples. Okay. So, when we am taking in first case I am taking only one condition, positive part A of P plus is equal to coverage P. So, it is covering P naught of positive examples and N naught of negative examples. So, when you conjunct one more parameter called as B, so the extended rule A or B, if it is triggering plus, then it will trigger P1 positive examples and N1 negative examples. Given this information, the false information gain of an extended rule can be defined as false information gain is equal to P1 into log of P1 by P1 plus N1 to the base 2 minus log P naught by P naught plus N naught to the base 2. Since the measure is proportional to P1 and P1 by P1 plus N1, it prefers rules that have high support count, means positive values. Number of positive examples covered. So, false information is better when a rule covers most of the positive examples, high support and accuracy. Okay, so now let us see what are the characteristics of a rule based classifier. So, rule based classifier has the following characteristics. The expressiveness of a rule set is almost equivalent to that of a decision tree, because decision tree can be represented by a set of mutually exclusive and exhaustive rules. So, decision tree can also be represented by a set of mutually exclusive and exhaustive rules. Both rule based and decision tree create rectilinear partitions of the attribute sphere and assign a class to each partition, both of them are same. So, almost rule based classifier is similar to the decision tree type of classifier. Nevertheless, if the rule based classifier allows multiple rules to be triggered for a given record, then a more complex decision boundary can be constructed. So, if a rule based classifier, a particular data set, a particular data is triggering more number of rules, okay, for a given record, then a more complex decision tree boundary is constructed. So, more the complex number of rules, more the complex the decision tree. So, rule based classifiers are generally used to produce descriptive models that are easier to interpret. So, rule based classifiers are generally used where they are used? They are used when we have predictive models that are easier to interpret, that are easier to analyze, but gives comparable performance to the decision tree classifier. So, let us take one example over here. Consider a binary classification problem with the following set of attributes and attribute values. So, here an air conditioner is taken. So, air condition, there are two conditions over here, air conditioner, either it may be working or it may be broken. Then engine, either the engine may be good or bad. Then the mileage is high, medium or low, and rest is yes or no. Suppose a rule based classifier produces the following set of rules. So, following set of rules are based on the above 4 conditions. So, we are generating 5 set of rules over here. What is the first one? If mileage is equal to high, then value is equal to low. If mileage is equal to low, value equal to high. If air conditioner is working, engine is good, value is equal to high. If air conditioner is working and engine is bad, value is equal to low, it is triggering. Air conditioner is equal to broken, then value is low. Okay. So, now these rules, 5 rules that are being generated. So, now let us see, are the rules mutually exhaustive, exclusive? No, these are not mutually exclusive, because in every rule I am checking a different condition. Okay. Is the rule set exhaustive? Yes, it is exhaustive. Is ordering needed for this set of rules? Yes, because a test instance may trigger more than one rule over here. Okay. So, here air conditioner is equal to working and air conditioner equal to working. So, this rule may be triggered by one data set which is having a condition of air conditioner working. So, here a bit of reordering is required. Do you need a default class for the rule set? No, we do not need, because every instance is guaranteed to trigger at least one rule. So, whenever you given any instance, any one of these rule is triggered. So, we do not require any default class for the rule set. Okay, coming to the nearest neighbor classifier. So, nearest neighbor classifier requires three things: the set of stored records, distance matrix to compute distance between records, the value of k, the number of nearest neighbors to retrieve. So, nearest neighbor is the number of neighboring points near you. So, nearest neighbor classifier requires three important things. One is the set of stored record, then distance matrix to compute distance between the record, means the Euclidean distance between different points, that is Euclidean distance between all these points, that is the distance matrix. Then the value of k, that is value of k, how many number of nearest neighbors are present. To classify an unknown record, so first thing is compute distance to the other training records. So, now take any one, let us take this is one record, then what do? You calculate the distance to the distance from this point, calculate distance with respect to the neighboring points. So, all the neighboring points with the smaller distance will come nearer to this, and in this case 1, 2 and 3, these 3 plus points are the neighbors of this point red. Identify k nearest neighbors. So, now here I have identified k nearest neighbors. So, these 3 are the k nearest neighbor to this unknown record. Then use class labels of the nearest neighbor to determine the class label of unknown record. Now, based on the class label of this positive and this is an unknown record, we do not have the class label to it, but based on the Euclidean distance, based on the distance matrix, whatever is the class of these nearest neighbor, the same class can be applied to the unknown record. Okay, by taking the majority vote. So, in this case majority vote is positive. So, all these three nearest neighbors are positive. So, whatever is the class of these positive will be assigned to the unknown record. So, here you take one nearest neighbor. So, this is a point x. So, this is the nearest, this is the only one nearest neighbor in this class. So, this is 2 nearest neighbor. So, here the 2 nearest neighbor, one is positive and one is negative. So, here this is a negative. So, this point will be assigned with a negative value, whatever is the class of this negative point, that will be assigned to this. Now, here we have two points, one is positive and one more is negative. So, here majority vote is not available. So, here in this point one negative and there are 2 positive, majority vote is 2, whatever is the class of plus, that will be assigned to this one. This is the 3 nearest neighbor and this is 2 nearest neighbor and this is 1 nearest neighbor. K nearest neighbor of a record x are the data points that have the smallest distance to x. Which neighbor you call is the nearest neighbor? K nearest neighbor of a record is the data point that have the smallest distance to x. Compute the distance between the 2 points. So, now how to compute? So, how you say these 1, 2 and 3 are the nearest neighbor to this. So, now what you need to do is you need to calculate the Euclidean distance with respect to all these 3 points. So, with respect to every point you calculate the Euclidean distance, whichever is the minimum distance near to you, in those are your k nearest neighbors. So, Euclidean distance d is equal to d of p comma k is equal to summation square root of summation I p minus p of I minus q of I bracket square. So, determine the class from the nearest neighbor list. So, based on the majority vote, determine the class from the nearest neighbor list. Take the majority vote of the class label among the k nearest neighbor. So, if there are more number of positive parts, then assign the class of the positive part. If there are more number of negative parts, then assign the class level of negative part. So, now what is the value of k that has to be taken? So, how many number of k nearest neighbor I have to check? So, with respect to any unknown record, so how many number of k nearest neighbor I have to check? So, how to choose the value of the k? So, if k is too small, then it will be sensitive to noise. If k is too large, neighborhood may include point from other classes. The value from this, if the value of the k should not be very small and should not be too large. If it is too small, then it will be sensitive to sensitive point. If it is too large, then neighborhood may include points from the other classes. Characteristics of the nearest neighborhood classifier. So, nearest neighborhood classification is a part of more general technique known as instance based learning. So, nearest neighbor classification is also called as near instance based learning, which uses specific training instances to make predictions without having to maintain an abstraction or a model or a derived from the data. So, this algorithm requires a proximity measure. Proximity measure means nearby points to determine the similarity or the distance between the 2 points. So, proximity is a one important parameter that we are using over here to find out the nearest neighbor, and the classification function that returns the predicted class of a test which is based on its proximity to other instances. And second one, the nearest neighbor is a lazy learner. So, lazy learners such as nearest neighbor classifier do not require model building. Remember, for classification, nearest neighbor does not require any model building. However, classifying a set example can be quite expensive because we need to compute the proximity values individually. So, as here we are not building any module. So, here we need to compute the proximity values individually between the test and the training example. So, nearest neighbor classifier can produce arbitrarily shaped decision boundaries, arbitrarily shaped decision boundaries. Such boundaries provide a more flexible model representation compared to decision tree and rule based classifier because of the variation in the shape of the decision boundaries. So, it is an advantage over the decision tree and rule based classifier that are often constrained to rectilinear decision boundaries. So, nearest neighbor classifier can produce wrong prediction unless an appropriate proximity measure and data processing steps are taken. So, if you are appropriately taking proximity measure and if you are able to pre-process the data, then your nearest neighbor classifier will work or it will make very correct predictions. If proximity measures are not correct and if the proximity measures are wrong and data pre-processing is not done properly, then the nearest neighbor can produce wrong predictions. Consider one example, one dimensional. Let us take one example, one dimensional data set in the table 5.4. So, classify the data point x. So, x is given, x is 5.0 according to its. So, now 1 nearest neighbor, 3 nearest neighbor and 5 and 9 nearest neighbors. So, using the majority vote. So, what is the first nearest neighbor? So, 5 or somewhere here, the first nearest neighbor is 4.9. So, what is its majority? Is there is only one nearest neighbor. What is the majority vote? Plus. Next, 3 nearest neighbor. What are the 3 nearest neighbors of the 0.5? One is 5, 5.2, 5.3 and 4.9. So, 4.9, 5.2 and 5.3 are the nearest neighbors of 5. So, out of this there are 2 negatives and 1 positive. So, majority vote is negative. So, 3 nearest neighbor is negative. Then coming to the 5 nearest neighbors. 5 nearest neighbors are 5.2, 5.3, 4.9, 4.6 and 5.5 other 4.5. You take either 5.5 or 4.5, in both the cases there are 3 positives and 2 negatives. So, the 5 nearest neighbor is negative. Next, coming to the 9 nearest neighbors. So, 9 nearest neighbor is 1, 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So, out of these 9 nearest neighbors, how many positives? There are 4 positives and 5 negatives. So, there are 9 nearest neighbor is majority vote is negative. Okay. So, this completes the nearest neighbor algorithm. This is enough for this video lecture. So, in the next video lecture, we will see the Bayes theorem and naive Bayes algorithm and Bayesian belief networks. Thank you one and all.